Going against the trends of what actually sells the most in shops, I'm pleased to be back with my favourite scale, the Soprano. Yes, welcome back. It's got a ukulele review day, as ever, with the summary video review linked below. Every review is a full detailed review with the scores and better pictures and that kind of thing. You'll see some thank yous running across the bottom of the screen as ever. These are thanks to people who've donated in the last week to help keep this site moving forward, because GotAUkulele is not sponsored by any brand or store. That's what makes these reviews completely impartial, and donations are critical to keeping it going. And why not think about subscribing if you like what you're watching. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. You'll get notifications about new stuff coming your way. You can also go back and browse some of the older things there. You may find some ideas on things to buy. Okay, so moving on. Sopranos, yeah, my favourite scale of ukulele, always has been. People get a bit sniffy about them still, sort of claim they're toys or not traditional, not serious, or a beginner ukulele, which is absolute nonsense. This is the original traditional ukulele, and some of the best ukuleles I've ever played have been Sopranos. And I'm breaking with tradition a little bit with this one, because this is a brand that I've reviewed before in this series in the concert scale. I don't normally do secondary reviews of different scales because there's so much duplication, but I got this one. I saw this one available on World of Ukes in Carlisle. Matt bought it from Matt, and I've been playing it an awful lot. The brand is called Cort, who are a Korean brand, huge Korean brand, who make guitars for people like Fender and G&L. So a guitar brand making ukuleles doesn't bode well, does it? But they are a huge brand, and this is the Cort UKE-BWS Soprano in their Blackwood series. They do a soprano, they do a concert, and they do a tenor. As I say, I've looked at the concert. This is the soprano. I couldn't resist it. And you look at it, very, very traditional looking ukulele, very much in the Martin style, in looks, scale, dimensions, decoration, the lot really. You'd think that this was made of mahogany, but it isn't. It's made of all solid blackwood, which is a relative of acacia and koa, but it's not overly stripy or swirly, so it kind of has that look of the traditional mahogany instrument. There's a lot of Martin clones out there, and writing this review brought to mind some of those that I'd looked at, so I'm thinking about models from Ohana, who make them, and also the Giddy Heights of the Japanese Koei brand, who make some absolutely wonderful Martin clones. And this is very much a Martin clone and reminds me more of the Koei brand than it does of the Ohana efforts. But let's just come on to why. So all solid blackwood, single piece on the top, single piece on the back, two pieces on the sides there. And the grain is really nice, warm and rich, but not overly fussy. It is finished in a satin. It's a semi-open pore finish, so it's not looking like a piece of Swiss cheese, so it has some grain in it but not huge amounts, and I really like that. That's more like a Koei. What I find with the Ohana brand is they almost try a little bit too hard, and they come across feeling and looking a bit artificial on the finish, a bit too new, a bit too factory. This feels older, this feels more vintage, it looks more vintage as well, and I think it's much more attractive than those instruments. The decoration here, black edge binding to the top and the back with black and white purfling around the front edge and a black and white inlaid sound hole rosette. I said on the concert that looked a little bit stark, but on this soprano version I think it's kind of under the satin, under the stain, and it kind of blends in with the rest of the body much better, I think. I think that looks really nice. The bridge, slot style, made of oven coal wood. It is stained dark, and I know that because for reasons I'll come on to when we talk about the fingerboard, but it's extremely tidy, slot style. The bridge there in its own self-contained slot is made from bone. I've got absolutely no complaints with that whatsoever. Really tidy. It's also really tidy inside if you look at the pictures on the review. Really nice shaped, notched kerfing. The braces are nice and small. The Cort logo is stamped on the inside of the back, telling you that this is made in China. But it is extremely tidy in there. I mean, it really is up there with sort of Koei level of finishing on the body at least. But let's move on. Really impressed so far. The neck is made of a single piece of mahogany. That's going to surprise you when you see the price. A single piece, no joints at all, in satin, really nice shaping, very Martinez shaping down here at the heel, going down to a nice flattened profile up here, nice, not broom handle, nice and shallow on the back, and also a roomy 35mm at the nut with 30mm from G2A. This is an extremely roomy neck that I find bang on a par with the Martin S1 and the Martin Sopranos of today. I absolutely adore this neck. It's finished in oven coal fingerboard, which is nice and dark, but that is stained, and I can tell it's stained when you look more closely at it, because you can actually see how it's been stained, but more so because if you look at the edges here, it's kind of a bit pale and unfinished on the tip. Now, that is my first gripe with the instrument, and it is a shame because it looks a bit scruffy. It looks a lot scruffier on the photograph I shared on social media, leading people to say, oh my god, that looks like an awful instrument. I was a bit cheeky doing that, because that really is my only complaint so far, and it ain't that bad when you look at it on the video, and it's not that noticeable, and it almost just makes it look a bit worn in, but it isn't right. Okay. It's got it's edge stained to hide the edges of the frets. The frets you get 12 to the body, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 in total, so generous. Position dots face out in the traditional Martin style, a dot facing out at the 5th, a double at the 7th, and a dot facing out the 10th. And also in Martin style, you get extra ones on the side, so you get 3, 5, 7, 10, 12, and 15 on the side as well, so that's nice. Beyond that nut, cut very well, set up very good, very, very tidy, is the usual Cort headstock, which I find a little bit bland and plain. Doesn't know what it wants to be with that shaping at the top. I know I moan about crowns, but what is it? Don't know. The Cort logo is inlaid in pearl, and I think looks stark on this, so that's my next gripe about it. That's just a personal thing. I just don't think it looks very nice. Although the grain on that headstock is absolutely beautiful, so, you know, swings and roundabouts. Another tick in the right box for me, rear-facing friction pegs as well on a Soprano, exactly what I want to see. Some people will be recoiling in horror because they look quite cheap. They are plastic on plastic. They are cheap, and I would like better ones like Grover's or possibly even GotAUPTs at a price. But I will say, these work really, really well. I've not had a problem using them at all, and I may well just sort of leave them on and see how we go before I think about upgrading them. It's an easy upgrade, but actually I'm not going to complain too much about them because they work all right. Finishing it off, you get a set of Aquila strings, which I don't normally like on Sopranos. I like fluorocarbon, but that's what you get, and you get a really nice padded, good quality embroidered Cort gig bag there. The price for these, about $199, which is really good money, I think. All solid wood Soprano, very, very well made. It's about the same sort of price as the range of Martin clones from Ohana, but I think it's much nicer looking and nicer finish than the Ohanas I've ever seen. It's considerably cheaper than the Kueas, of course. It's cheaper than the Martin S1, which I think it probably is nicer in finish too as well. Another solid instrument, another Soprano, very traditional, but I prefer the look of this. This is between the S1 and the Kuea for me in terms of looks, on the body at least. A shame about that scruffiness on the fingerboard, but there we are. A really nice little traditional looking Soprano ukulele. It's really light, really, really light. What is this? 380 grams, perfectly well balanced as well. No complaints there at all. None at all. It's exactly what you want a Soprano to be. You don't know you're holding it. We need to have a play. Now, what you find with a lot of cheaper end Sopranos, and this was the case with the Ohana versions that I played, is that they sound a bit thin, almost a little bit strident, a bit one-trick pony. They don't have a great deal more going on. This, well, we'll come on to the tone in a minute. First of all, the volume, just what you want. Punchy, snappy, not as loud as the Martin S1, as loud as the Ohanas. There's some nice sustain there. The whole thing is vibrating into my hands and my chest. There. So that means you can be a bit more expressive with your play, particularly with melody stuff. So there's a warmth. Yeah, peppy, jangly, bouncy, rhythmical. Yeah, it's a soprano. There's a warmth in that tone, so it's not strident, it's not overly bright. Whether that's down to the ukulele strings, probably. Whether it's down to the blackwood in the body, possibly too. There's a lot more character to it, but I really like that. I like it much more than the Ohana versions. But with that sustain, you've got... There's a smile on my face. I think this is absolutely wonderful as a little soprano. Probably, in my opinion, one of the best cheaper end Martin clone sopranos that you will find. I think this punches well above its weight, well above the Ohanas and other versions of the Martin clones, well above. No, it's not there with the KWARE KTS5 and the KTS7, but you know what? I think it's closer than I'd like to admit, bearing in mind I like those KWAREs so much. The KWARE has a bit more sustain, more volume, more character to the tone, but I really like the sound of this. It's so light, it's so well made. My gripes are minimal. Yeah, I'd like better pegs, but they work okay. No, I don't like that logo, but there we are. It's not life and death, and I do like the grain up there. It's a shame about the scruffiness at the edge of that fingerboard, but, you know, that's not life and death either. The whole thing, the body and where it matters, is put together really well. The neck is wonderful. Really nice soprano neck. It ticks all the boxes in soprano for me, and therefore gets a very, very good score. If I was recommending someone getting a serious solid wood soprano instrument, it'd be this one if they didn't have the money for a KWARE. If they had a couple of £100 to spend, I wouldn't hesitate in recommending this one. I think this is great. Really, really nice little soprano. I know sopranos are not for everyone, but give them a try. Nice roomy nut. There's more space on here than a lot of concerts. It is the traditional ukulele. Take it anywhere. It's small, it's wonderful, it's fun. The Cort UKE-BWS soprano, made of all solid blackwood. Highly recommended from GotAUkulele. What's not to like? What's not to like? Back next week. A brand I've featured before next week, I think, is what we've got coming, and I don't even know what it is that he's sending me, so it's a complete surprise to me, so I can't tell you any more about it. Enjoy the rest of your week. Go very carefully, keep safe, and I will see you very soon. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.